So welcome to our Vocations Café as we are gathering together to talk about vocations. And vocations can be seen from many different perspectives. And as the bottom line is our answer to God's calling. And I'm very happy to welcome Robert and Christina. We all have coffee here. And cheers.
Cheers.
Enjoying it. It's not the early morning here, but it's after all it's Saturday, so it's always good to get a little caffeine in us. And today we're going to talk specifically about the vocation to marriage. I posted the invitation with the question, even if we can look at marriage as a vocation, and I had a pretty interesting responses or comments on it, like that. Obviously, there is a vocation, and I think it's good to reflect on it and chat about it. I noticed Pope Francis wrote in the Amoris Laetitia, marriage is a vocation inasmuch as it is a response to a specific call to experience conjugal love as an imperfect sign of the love between Christ and the Church. Consequently, the decision to marry and to have a family ought to be the fruit of a process of vocational discernment. It doesn't happen by accident. It's like with any vocation, the priesthood to the religious life, it has to be preceded with the discernment. So, Robert and Christina, maybe tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, what do you do, and how long you've been together?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm Christina, and this is my husband, Robert. I am a mom of three wonderful children, aged 5, 4, and 11 months, almost a 1-year-old baby.
Busy household.
It's a loud household on most days. And in my spare time, I am currently the director of youth ministry for the Diocese of Hamilton. And so I serve the church in that way during the day when my kiddies are at school and playing with their friends. So that's me.
Yeah, and I'm Rob. I currently work for the Hamilton Wentworth District School Board as an educational assistant. So I'm in a school that is solely special needs children, and I'm in a classroom with a bunch of wonderful children. So that's me, pretty much.
I always admire the teachers who work with the kids with special needs, and as you know, in this Catholic school board, there is that integration in the classrooms, and so often, well, when we used to be able to gather in the church for the school masses, we have a number of children and their teachers, and always trying to sit in the back, like kind of trying to be quiet. But I love seeing them and being a part of everything else what we are doing. It's a great vocation as a teacher. So you have quite a few vocations. We can talk about it here. So tell us, like, how the journey began for you. Like, how did you meet?
We like to joke that we're the best poster children for going to church to meet your spouse. Because we met at church.
Brought together by Jesus, yes.
That's the bottom line.
So we went, it was actually a passion play that our parish was putting on. And my godmother was directing it. She was a teacher at the school. And so I happened to talk to her at some point and asked to be involved. And Christina was the musician for it as well as the co-director, and that's how we met. So literally through Jesus for a passion play.
That's even underlined even more about the vocation. So, Robert, did you play anybody in that pageant?
I did. I started off as Judas, but they upgraded me to Peter.
Oh gosh! Wow.
Yeah.
That's a growth in holiness, starting with Judas and going to Peter.
Yes, yeah, it was a good promotion. I was happy with it.
Over a course of 6 weeks, we thought he's much too good to just play Judas. I think we need to upgrade him. So
that was a good discernment for you, Christina, as well as you noticed. Well, there's something there, isn't it?
Well, we were working with each other every single day. I was the music director, and so I was running over parts, and I became really close friends with Rob. I was serving in youth ministry at the parish at the time, but he wasn't. And so when the passion play was over, I said, you can't leave. We need leaders. Like you've just shepherded all these young people involved in the passion play, not just young adults. but we had young children. And I said, they know you now. They trust you now. You are an important part of this community. You can't go anywhere.
Yeah, and I was more than happy to join the youth ministry at the church, because I had never been a part of something like that before, and it was awesome. It was a lot of fun. I can remember wanting to like leave shifts at the restaurant I was working at to go and do things that, like, if I had been cut early, I would quickly head to church to take part in what was going on. So it was a lot of fun.
And what's really nice is that our journey with the Lord in youth ministry has led us to different parishes, to different school communities when I served as high school chaplain. And Rob's always come along for the ride. And so it's been great to watch him grow in his leadership and ministry with an accompaniment of young people as well, especially young people with exceptionalities who he has that unique and compassionate skill set for. So it's been wonderful.
It's very interesting. You know, the recent studies, the studies that just came out this year actually, about new members of the religious communities. So that was done across the states, but I think it reflects as well the reality here in Canada. It says that the newest members discern their vocation in the basic settings of the parish through their involvement in the youth group, as an altar servers, in the church. So that applies in your case also to the marriage. Like, so maybe we should advertise, join the youth group so we can find a husband or wife there.
Absolutely.
This is the best way to do it. I just want to say hello here. So we have people joining us across the world, as you can see, even from Nigeria. So welcome all of you who are joining us here, and please feel free to post your questions or comments. I'm looking forward to it. Tell me how that happened, because usually when you engage, like this is like a significant moment when you make a decision about your vocation to married life. It's kind of like a signing up for the novitiate in the religious life. Let's make that step. Let's make the decision. Did it happen by surprise, or was it expected? How your engagement happened?
Honestly, I
don't
think
tell me you don't remember.
I think that
definitely.
No, we knew. I think we knew really early on in our relationship that this was meant to be. Like, the Lord had called us to marriage together, and so was the engagement a surprise? Not really, because we were planning this life together, right? We were discerning a life together. Was the day a surprise when Rob proposed? Absolutely.
I'll throw some quick facts out real quick. So within our first year of dating, I gave Chrissy a promise ring, which I obviously held to, because I knew that this was the woman that I wanted to marry. A couple of years later, around Christmas time, we happened to be shopping at a mall, and Christy finds a ring that she really likes that would be an engagement ring. So it may have been purchased and then stashed away. And then on the night of our actual engagement, we were in Toronto seeing a show, and I had my and staying overnight in a hotel, and I had my mom and aunt come to the hotel room and set it up with like flowers and stuff. So
that's nice.
It was really nice, yeah. And so our song was playing and all kinds of stuff.
Very romantic too.
Yeah.
I'm sure that was appreciated.
Yeah, it was really nice.
So how many years have you been married?
7.
7 years. That's the perfect number, isn't it? How does it feel like?
2020 has been a year.
No kidding.
Oh, sure. Maybe the Lord was providing us with a little bit of extra oomph this year to survive it. But yeah, it's 7.
It's an amazing year, and it's every year to celebrate of your marriage. As you are looking from the perspective of vocation, like how would you describe your marriage, or the fact that you're married, that you have a family, that you can see that as a vocation?
I would say that it's a labor of love every single day. Our family life is busy, and it requires every effort of our hearts to really be Christ for our children and for one another every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a choice, it's a sacrifice and it's a choice to love in that way and with joy. And it's sometimes harder than others. But I think that's where God's grace comes in, and we work together in cooperation with one another as a team to ensure that our foundation is always the love of the Lord, and then we grow from there.
It really makes the difference when you have that foundation that you can build on, isn't it? Like from the faith perspective, seeing vocation as an answer to God's calling, and you answer that as a married couple, as a family, because you felt that God was calling you to that way of life, and eventually to the way of sainthood. Like I love telling the story, and quite often I bring that story when we have the weddings, when the couple is getting married, about the definition of love, how many different definitions people describe, like romantic love and very picturesque or Hallmark love. But I love telling the story, and probably this is the best descriptions I ever heard about love. So love is when it's the middle of the night, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning, and the couple is being awakened because their child cries in the next room to theirs. And love is the husband says to his wife, "Keep sleeping, honey, I will go." Right, Robert? You know how that works.
He does that, yeah. Yeah.
That's truly what love is, and it's like a love of sacrifice. Tell me, like, when you look at those past 7 years as you've been married, and I'm sure there are times that you have moments of celebration and joy, but sometimes it's times of struggle. We're all human, and as you said, it's a choice that you make in the end. Like, what would you see for the people who are discerning? Like for those young people who are thinking about their way of life, is it marriage for me? Is it family for me? How would you present to them what are the biggest blessings of married and family life, and what are the biggest challenges of family and marriage? The blessings. Let's start with the blessings.
Blessings first.
Okay, you go ahead.
Okay. Blessings would be so someone who's looking into this. Well, you gain like a lifelong friend and partner, and someone who's with you through thick and thin, and is always there to support you and stuff. And it's really wonderful to have someone who cares about you all the time and loves you unconditionally. And just the road that you travel through love is incredible as you move through the different phases, and it's really exciting, and then you really start to rely and lean on each other, and so it's definitely a path I would suggest for people. And having children is just like the icing on a cake, pretty much. It's just, you think you love someone so incredibly much, and then you have children and you realize just how much more love you have to give. It's really quite incredible to just experience that and to watch them grow, and especially raising children in the church and seeing how they grasp all of the different ideas and how they manage them in their lives. It's fantastic.
Watching a child learn how to be in relationship with God is a pretty incredible thing. To be that first witness of that is probably one of the coolest parts of motherhood that I wasn't expecting, which seems strange because of what I do, but
that's true.
for example, the other day, Rob was running out of the house with Nathaniel late for something, because my boys are regularly late in their lives. And they were heading out the door, and Nate said, "Dad, I learned a new prayer at school today. Want to hear it?" And Rob dropped the bags that he was holding, and they just stopped at the door, and he was like, "Yeah, absolutely, let's pray." And they prayed at the door. And to do life with your best friend is a pretty amazing experience, because you get to watch them grow in their own experience of their vocation, but then that growth also challenges you to strive for that same kind of holiness, which is incredible. And I think to be able to cheer one another on in that is a pretty powerful thing as well. And we make mistakes all the time. You talked to
of course.
That quote that you read from Amoris Laetitia it's exactly it. It's the imperfect vision, but we're all striving for the same thing. And so to be able to have someone that you can be perfectly transparent with in your joys and in your sorrows, for better or for worse, is a pretty impactful blessing.
There's certainly hard parts. That's the bottom line, right? Like, I mean, as much as it can be easy, there's also struggles, and it's wonderful to have someone with you through that.
What would you find the biggest challenges?
To marriage or to parenting?
Very specific here. We need to know.
So let's start with marriage.
Oh, okay. So for me personally, I have to be really honest. So I grew up just my mom and I. So single parent family, a team of 2 women, very strong, loud women. And to learn how to be in relationship with my husband, who is a very different mind and personality, has been an uphill climb. It's been a steep.
That's a challenge.
It's been a steep learning curve. But I think that it goes back to like what you were saying about the different ways of love. Like, we both have very different love languages, like black and white. Marriage prep was the greatest thing for us because we loved every minute of it. It was like a holiday, away with all these people for 3 days and learning about them all and hearing about our own relationship. But we have very different love languages. And I think that the complication for us, especially now with 3 kids and professions, that it's really important for us to be able to carve time out for one another and our particular language of love, because otherwise, if we're not making that time, that intentional time for our relationship, our other relationships and obligations and parts of our vocation can start to see the wear, right? And can start to feel strain from that. So it's really important that we strengthen ourselves and work on our marriage first before we can support and resource out to others.
Yeah, and I'll just take a spin off what Christy was saying about them being just the 2 of them, her mother and herself. I have a very big family on my side. Big being that we are in almost constant communication with my cousins on my mother's side. So I myself have a sister, and then I have 4 other cousins that all now have subsequent wives, girlfriends. And we get together for all of our birthdays and everything. So Christy doesn't have much family here that is blood related. So her coming into my big, loud, boisterous, singing songs, brutal humor for anyone new. It was quite fun for her to kind of get initiated in. And like our first date, I was telling her about all of my cousins by name and which ones were going to give her like a little trouble at the dinner table for Thanksgiving. And it was like
I have to learn all the names.
Yeah, and learning their personalities and what to expect. Yeah. Don't be offended. One of them is a little bit can be a little bit funny. So it brought me so much joy to be able to do that with Chrissy, and she fit right in. It was really wonderful to see her just kind of complete another section of her family, which was wonderful. So that's definitely one of the things.
Yeah, and challenges too, though. Like clearly, the 2 of us are from very different ethnic backgrounds, and although we're both Roman Catholic in our religions, we both come from different particular traditions. Rob's family is all Irish Catholic. My family is all the history that I know is from my mother's side, which is from Malaysia, and we're Chinese Malaysians. And so it trying to blend the two cultures together has been a little bit of an interesting and a great challenge too. So trying to teach our very diverse children about their two different histories and walks of life has certainly provided some balance and some constant communication for us to be able to ensure that they know of their whole heritage and who they are and where they've come from.
It's interesting concept about as you mentioned, growing up with different cultures. And in our religious community, we recently more and more because we are international congregation, right? So you will have a variety of cultures. People are coming from African countries, they're coming from Asia, they're coming from Europe or North America, and certainly the cultural backgrounds will be different. But what we truly noticing and trying to follow, and that would probably work as well. You are working it out daily, but interculturality is not like it goes beyond just respecting other culture, but as well living it together and learning from one another. And in the case of married couple, I mean, this is the daily experience that you have because you're coming from different backgrounds, but at the same time, you're creating your family culture, like very specific to yourself. So going from the marriage life, and I've heard that a number of times, and you as married couple, as parent, you have that experience. I haven't, but I've heard that quite often the dynamics in relationship changed with the arrival of a child. Was it your experience?
I'm not sure they changed negatively, but certainly they changed.
That's a big, like, I mean, you ask any parent, a huge portion of your social life becomes dedicated to raising children. So, like, I mean, that in itself is just like a huge change, right? You're not able to perhaps pursue your outside activities or doing something else because you're ensuring that you're giving your child and your partner everything that you need and they need for to raise a child. So
it's definitely different to be a family of two, which is just a husband and wife who can go wherever you please or whenever you please, and money, finances are allocated to very different things and different priorities when you're just a couple, when you're just a married couple. Once you become a family, your entire, I think, vocation is pointed towards that other person, which is so the purpose of, right? That's the purpose of why we are what we are as a married couple. And so we certainly, you feel like you lose something of your old life, but then you have gained so much
such a surplus,
more that you never even expected to have or to experience.
And I've heard that was Patrick Lencioni, actually, when I mentioned earlier, like he called about the transition in life that happens. He said that quite often you can see the wedding ceremony as the funeral of a single life.
So certainly felt that way.
But that's when those dynamics are changing. Like when you give up in some ways or sacrifice your single life for the couple life first, and after that when you have family, when the children are coming, those dynamics are changing. But certainly you can see that as the vocation happens, the answer to the God's call, it's not just one time. Okay, so I've heard the call and I decided I'm gonna be missionary oblate, gonna be a married couple, and that's it. Like that answer has to happen constantly. Like, do you have give the advice to the couples who are just getting married? Like, what would be, from your experience, how to nourish that vocation, how to nourish that fire, that passion that you have when you got married through the years? What would be your simple advice to them?
Yeah, I think that your love will evolve each and every day. But I think that when your feet hit the ground in the morning, I think you need to intentionally choose the other person, and live for that other person. And some days it's going to be harder than others. But I think prioritizing your relationship needs to be key. There are a lot of distractions in our world, and many that can keep us from that full experience of the sacrament, right? Of the love of the sacrament. And so I think it's critical that we every single day choose one another and choose to prioritize one another in that. And that will keep that spark alive, that intentional giving of ourselves each and every day. That's what's going to do it.
Yeah. And like, I mean, my advice would just be like complete and total, honest, open communication at all times. Very helpful. Like, I mean, you need to be able to talk, and if something's bothering you, you need to be able to talk about it. So being able to communicate effectively, and it's not going to be effectively right off the bat, but like definitely working on keeping how you feel and how you view things out front instead of like, I guess, hiding things, or maybe not saying something right off the bat because like it's not a big deal right now, but definitely you want to get those things. You want to talk, you want to be honest.
Yeah. Sure. In any relationship, I think the communication is the bottom line that you'll have.
Yeah.
So as we are finishing our coffees, I want to ask you one more thing.
Okay.
We from the perspective of the vocation director, we will always promote why you should join the Oblates. Like what's the passion about it, and why you should be, as a young man, why you should be an Oblate. And the funny story, when Father Tony Odell, who was here with me, when he was joining the Oblates, he grew up in a small village on the coast of Labrador in Western Modeste. And those were the days that the vocational promotion was happening, kind of like with the posters of the Oblates flying in the north and join the Oblates, explore the world, right? International congregation, how to attract young men to join the Oblates. So the joke is, those were the days, join the Oblates, explore the world. He joined the Oblates from a small village of Labrador. When he was ordained, his first assignment was to Labrador. So explore the world, you're coming back to Labrador for next 12 or 13 years.
Or next door. Yeah, right.
Exactly. So from your perspective, like what would be your elevator pitch to the young men and women who are discerning now? Well, they're in the university or maybe high school, they're reflecting on their life and they're asking them questions like what God is calling me to do with my life. And they feel, well, maybe it's a married and family life. What would be your pitch for them? Like, do it. Just that's the way of life.
I think like any discernment, there needs to be a level of come and see. So if you think that married and family life is for you, I would strongly encourage you to find a community of young adults and to ask questions and to come and see. Our door is always open. We call ourselves, we usually host big Thanksgiving dinners when it's not in COVID times and Christmas parties. And we love to have groups of our friends, our peers, as well as young adults in our life. And I think that young Catholic families need to be open books, right? You have to be raw, honest, and open with one another. And so if you're discerning marriage and family life, immerse yourself. Find a family that will welcome you in and ask your questions and get your answers and pray about it. Like it's not a tomorrow decision, right? It's an ongoing conversation with the Lord, and whatever He has willed for your heart, He's going to be able to reveal that to you when the time is right. So I also think it's really important too to really be open and transparent with the person that you're dating. So if you're dating and you're still discerning, you need to be transparent about that. You need to have those conversations openly. Rob and I knew from day one that marriage and family was what we were called to, marriage and children. And in that conversation, we then entered into a relationship with one another. Why? Because we knew that we were both called to the same path.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important that that marriage is properly discerned and prayed about and prayed for in our respective communities, and that there are advocates in the field, young adults who are living life in the vocation of marriage with children, to be able to support and accompany those who are having those times of discernment.
Yeah, and I would just add, just take your time, right? Like, I mean, just what my wife has said is so important. No one's rushing you into anything, right? You really need to invest the time into which path you're planning on choosing. So waiting and guaranteeing kind of like that's the path that you want to go is I think a wonderful way to do things, right? Everyone's always so busy in life and rushing and doing things here and there. And I feel like for vocation, it's really something that you take slow and build like your knowledge of it and all that, right? So
yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so come and see. Our doors
Come
are
and see.
open.
Get married. Well, thank you very much, Robert and Christina, for taking this time, and I really appreciate to looking at the marriage as vocation. I think you have a great insights that you shared with all of us, and from your own experience. So I really appreciate that. Thank you for doing this, and wish you all the best. Wish the kids keep you healthy and sane, and it's wonderful. Always wonderful watching your family grow. So thank you very much for that. And let's keep for prayer, our prayer for vocations to variety of life that God is calling us to do. That we will truly have a courage to follow where God is calling us to do, because that will be the best way of life. So thank you very much, and we'll see you around.